All right, it's 6 o'clock and we have a quorum. And we're going to call this workshop session of the Lewisville City Council to order. First up, discussion of regular agenda items and consent agenda items. Council, if you wouldn't mind in your packets, we're just going to go through those. First up is a presentation of the Colorpalooza logo. I believe it's that time of year already. We have approval of the minutes. Item 2, approval of an economic development and utility participation agreement. Item 3, approval of a contract for construction services for Valley Parkway and Civic Circle.
Question on that, that does, at Valley Parkway, that is the replacement of Valley Parkway, is that what they should do completely? Or is it just utility?
Oh, it's the pavement.
Whole paper?
Yeah. Okay, it needs love. People are very excited about that line item, by the way. I've heard from multiple folks today. Item 4, professional services agreement with Huitzellers. That's Northwest Old Town Improvements. No questions or comments. We'll move on to item 5, professional services agreement for building commissioning services for the Tilley McFadden Public Safety Center.
Yes, ma'am, we do.
What are you gonna do? Just wander through there, and flip light switches on and off? Is that? Yeah, I think it's a bit more than that. All right, item 6, fiscal year 23-24 ambulance services interlocal cooperation with Denton County. Item 7, fire protection services interlocal cooperation agreement with Denton County. Item 8, supplemental appropriations for the prior year. Item 9, approval of finance policy 3.06 investment policy. Nothing has changed in that document, by the way. But legally, we have to go through it every year. Item 10, consideration of 2 alternative standards with building materials and landscaping. 2325 South Stemmons Freeway.
So I did have a couple questions about this. This is the 20-tree, 2-tree thing. So, that is a nice shopping center. I mean, it actually is holding pretty well. Sad to see Target pull out, and then I guess Hemisphere's been gone for a while now as well. That's when Barnes & Noble's left. The Barnes & Noble's that left, whatever the bookstore was that left recently. We actually go there quite a bit, but it's always struck me as a sea of asphalt. It's a lot of asphalt out there. And I don't know that we get this opportunity to fix that very often. So it seems like this is an opportunity to try to help bring that up a little bit. I understand there's a price concern from going from the 2 trees out there to the 20 that we'd like to have out there. Can you quantify, is this a legit concern, or is it like astronomical, or is it just trying to be as budget friendly as possible for the developer?
Yeah, staff dug into the cost a little bit more. Building inspection provided me with the cost of the facade improvement, which is about $80,000. I consulted with our engineering staff, and to meet the code for the 20 trees would be about $200,000.
Okay. Now, I suspect that the first tree is the expensive tree because you got to run irrigation, get it out there, get the equipment on site, and things like that. That's just my gut? Is that not right, or is each tree the same cost?
I think because it would be about 800 feet of new irrigation, it would have to be run along with the islands, and then but just the cost of concrete. So it's probably, you wouldn't have very much savings with the number of trees. You'd have some, but
10,000 a tree is what it
very
winds up running.
minimal.
About 10 grand a tree. Then if you take 200,000 divided by 20, about 10 grand a tree. Is that
Probably something like that.
something like that?
Just ballpark.
That seems low, in my opinion, but
Yeah.
This one,
Probably more than that.
I'm getting ready
Those are
to
probably
do
pretty
this at
conservative
a school.
estimates.
It's about double that.
okay.
And in previous examples where we've had these older shopping centers that are being backfilled, we've had 2 that in recent memory. We've had the Zion Market in the old Sears, and we had a Dick's Sporting Goods over in the Target Center. Both of those, fortunately, we had some available green space, either islands that did not have trees or just some large grassy areas that were irrigated, where it was very easy to put the required number of trees.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we don't have that in this center, and this is a very small part of the overall shopping. So 30,000 square feet out of 500,000, so it's a very small piece. I think the ideal opportunity would be if the developer were adding some substantial new square footage, maybe in the middle of all of that ocean of parking. Then they're going to already be out there taking out concrete, and that's when it's easy to start running, doing more cutting and adding islands when there's a more substantial, new addition, new building activity being done to the overall shopping center.
Okay, because that was my main concern, is that we get a bite of this apple. Do we have to wait 10 years for another bite of this apple? It sounds like what I'm hearing is, to the extent that old Target space or Hemisphere space becomes of interest to somebody, that might be a better opportunity to go in and address this as one project for the whole area.
Possibly.
Okay.
Usually the backfills, the facade improvements are fairly minimal, but it's when you're adding new square footage, when those opportunities become reasonable to add the additional landscaping that the ordinance requires.
Okay, all right, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I will say, though, to add to that, is that this is one of the properties that we're, in the next 6 months, going to be proactively reaching out, talking about parking, and it is over-parked likely, so telling the property owner proactively, like, you can actually build more on this property. If people are building brand new, that's when a lot of this might come to fruition.
Okay, great,
This
thank you.
also might be a good opportunity to let them know about our stormwater program.
Good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Absolutely. All right. We have any reports? And then I'm just now reading this, so apparently at the November 20th council meeting, we raised just shy of $250, so thank you all for that. And then at Sam's Club on December 9th, we raised another just over $1,100. So far, the total raised, previously mentioned and online, is $1,993. We are $7 away from our $2,000 goal, and I'm taking care of that now as we speak, so.
But do we win?
I don't know anything about winning or losing. I think the people who we donated to win, so that's where I will be on that one. I have no idea, I haven't looked at the other ones.
They cannot beat us.
I know, so there's
In
that.
the charter,
It's in the charter.
can't break the
I
charter.
went a little more. I went
Yeah.
yesterday.
But yes, if anybody wants to give a little bit more, you can hop on Salvation Army and just look for TJ Gilmore 2023 at the Salvation Army website. You can probably Google it, it'll pop right up. With that, we do have closed session tonight. Any other staff reports? All right, so super, and regular session starts in 50+ minutes. So we will reconvene in a regular session at 7 p.m. Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, we won't. I messed up. We got the public art master plan. There we go. That's even better. Let's go that route. Todd Ressi, please get me out of this hole. My apologies.
35 southbound, is it open yet?
Claire, Mayor, Council. I'm here to introduce Todd Bressi. Several of you may know him from before when we adopted the original master plan in 2018. He wrote that for us, and we brought him back on board this year to refresh and update that plan to give us another 5 years. So I'll let him kick it off.
Welcome, Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor and Council, thank you for having me here today. I was looking forward to that break.
Like 20 minutes of plenty of great food.
But I guess that's, I'll have to put that off. Well, thank you for inviting me to your city again, and for the chance to work with Denise, who's your fabulous arts coordinator here in Lewisville, as well as James and Claire and the members of the Art Advisory Board. It really has been a delight, and I'm really grateful you invited me back to work with you again. I was going to also say, I have to make a presentation to the council in the town where I live on Thursday, and I'm going to highly recommend they bring barbecue. I will be much happier presented. This update to Lewisville's Public Art Master Plan reviews the progress of Lewisville. Can you go to slide 1, please? Oh, actually, that was you are. But that's okay. You can leave this up. It reviews the progress that the plan has made since it was adopted in 2018. Recommends goals, priorities, and implementation strategies that will ensure the program will continue to meet the community's needs in the coming years. It was developed in collaboration with city staff, many of you in this room who I spoke with, and the city's Arts Advisory Board, which advises the public art program. Although not all of the recommendations in the original public art plan have been implemented, the city sought this update to reflect changes that have occurred in the community, such as the growth of the population, increased diversity, the revitalization of Old Town, and the annexation of Castle Hills. Also, reflecting the experience that the team here has gained in the last 5 years in managing public art projects, and the changes that have occurred in the city and the nation over that time as well. These are the goals, the specific goals of the plan listed on this slide. Next slide. So our work included a follow of the following activities. First, we reviewed a lot of the documents, the minutes of the Art Advisory Board, annual plans, RFQs, RFPs, get a sense of how the program was working. I attended monthly meetings of the Art Advisory Board in the spring and summer, and so I had multiple opportunities to talk with them and just see how they did their work. We did interviews with key stakeholders, such as the leadership in this room and some in the community, a public survey with 131 responses. I came for a weekend and we tabled at public events and at the Thrive Center. And we had specific questionnaires for advisory board members and for artists who participated in the program. I also did a review of peer public art programs in the Metroplex and a few others in Texas that the team was interested in. Next slide. I can confidently say the city should take a lot of pride in the progress that it's made, the public art program has made. The public art program can boast solid accomplishments with the diversity of acquisitions, commissions, and community-oriented projects. Growing partnerships with arts and community organizations in the city and the region. I think that's a particularly important thing. The program has been very entrepreneurial in how it's reached out and connected with other organizations. And that's a really good sign because a lot of this work really does evolve through partnerships. That's how you can find funding. That's how you can find additional resources to do your work. And what I'm going to do is run quickly through some of those highlights, of course, starting with the sculpture right outside this building, Slicker Shot, which was acquired in 2020. Next slide. The city also commissions a playful series of sculptures in Old Town, Hop in History, which I think really reflects the playful spirit of the city overall. And it is an example also of the creative and resourceful partnership that the team here has established with the University of North Texas and the art school and the faculty there, which is a really important pipeline of ideas and talent that can support the work here. Next slide. This is one of several murals that's been created in Old Town. It's an example of the success of the city's Artist Microgrant program. In this case, enabling a young Lewisville artist to create her first public art commission. And several projects have been launched through these grants. Next slide. Many projects had a community focus, and that's a real important part of the spirit of what is happening here. Artist Peter Hazel brought his sculpture in progress and chalked the blocks so people there could, Colorpalooza, running another festival there, Colorpalooza. So people there could help to set the mosaics that are at the base. Little steps like this, just like being able to be a kid and put those mosaics down there on the bottom of that sculpture, can really create long memories for people of something they did, and they can go back and they can see it. And they really can help open up people's possibilities for themselves in their lives. So things like that are very important. Next slide. Just this year, just the last couple months, the program completed 2 other community-based projects, a sculpture in collaboration with the Chin community and a photo portrait of the city as it is today on display at Serve Lewisville. And both of these were also developed in partnership with community organizations, faith-based organizations, again, a really important sign of the outreach the program is doing. Next slide. And this year, the program is working on 2 ambitious projects at the library and the new Public Safety Center, as well as completing a project along Timber Creek. Next slide. So it's a great variety of work, entrepreneurial partnerships, community, and fun. And I think that really has created a mark on the city. The challenge Lewisville faces is how to take its program to a higher level, to increase the impact of its work and its engagement with the community. While the public art, so here are some of the issues that were raised in the research that I did. While the public art program has maintained a steady pace of commissions, acquisitions, and community projects, it also has a backlog of projects to complete and funds to allocate to future projects. And the structural reason for this is the capacity of the city's staff in terms of its time, not in terms of its quality, just in terms of its time, the amount of time it has to do this work, but to manage the program and the projects. Secondly, art advisory board members have expressed a desire to develop projects that are more ambitious, more impactful, and more widely spread throughout the city. They've expressed desire for the work over time to demonstrate a cohesive vision for this diverse city, for there to be a broader range of voices in shaping the work the public art program does. And third, art advisory board members and staff have expressed a concern about public awareness, reaching and educating the community, and letting them know about the opportunities for public art, and a desire to expand even further the community engagement aspect of their work. In the same vein, there's an acknowledgement that it's important for the program to sometimes operates very quickly, to keep council up to date about key milestones in project planning and development. And finally, the city now has enough artworks where it needs to start thinking more proactively about maintenance and conservation, taking care of things so they're kept in good order. Next slide. So the goals the plan sets are to disperse projects more throughout the city through a number of means. Second, to look to do projects that are larger scale and more ambitious. There are some tools for doing that. Involving community engagement by expanding community engagement by proactively planning for it for each project that comes along, asking the question, how will we engage the community in this project? How will we let them know? How will we publicize it? And then initiating a regular process for conservation and maintenance, mainly by hiring a public art conservator to look at the whole collection right now, create a baseline, and about once every 10 years come back and do that. That will give you a prioritized set of actions and a way to kind of anticipate what your costs will be. Next slide. Lewisville has a lot of opportunities for new projects on its horizon. The plan includes a map that summarizes those for the next few years, and I'll quickly go through each category. Next slide. These are projects that the public art program can get started on right now once it has the capacity. These projects are good opportunities for dispersing projects into new areas of the city, and again, in building community engagement and awareness, and even trying out new ideas. Next slide. One of the ideas is to create a temporary sculpture exhibition that was recommended in the first plan, but it was not a project that has been taken on yet. The proposal now is to focus that in the area of the theater, so it's more impactful and so it's easier to manage. This image is from Suwanee, Georgia, which has a successful model of having temporary sculpture about every 2 years. It's also a very fun and playful place like Lewisville. And then each year the community votes on one piece that the city acquires. And this is one of the pieces that the city of Suwanee acquired. Next slide. Gloria Park is a terrific spot for community-based artwork, perhaps even one that reflects different aspects of the Latino community. For this sculpture, in this picture, is in a community park in San Antonio. The artist collected ideas from people's memories and then cast them into objects that are attached to this canopy structure. So it's kind of a modern twist on the traditional Zocalo structure that you'll see in town squares. Next slide. The plan also notes a number of projects that may be included in upcoming bond referenda that could be good opportunities for public art. In some cases, the opportunity is simply to reduce the space in what's being built for future public art, like creating a pad along a street where a bench might go one day in the future. Next slide. The opportunities also include public art along greenways, and the public art plan includes numerous ideas for the types of projects the city could consider on both existing and new greenways. This happens to be a trailhead and a shade structure in Las Vegas. The good thing about greenway projects is because they go everywhere in the city, you'll be able to have public art in all the neighborhoods of the city. Next slide. There's a proposal for an amphitheater in Vista Ridge Park. That could be an opportunity for functional artwork as well. Next slide. In addition to those projects, there are other opportunities that could be pursued in connection with the city's development strategies. Many of these were called out in the original public art plan, and so that is updated in this plan. This will require coordination between economic development, planning and community relations, planning and the community relations and tourism departments to really assess those opportunities. But they tend to be at places, next slide. They tend to be at places that are related to the city gateways and identity focal points that are called out in the Lewisville 2025 Vision Plan. This project at the University of Texas, Austin, is one of the most highly ranked images in our community survey when we ask people what kinds of things they feel would reflect the art they'd like to see in Lewisville. This was the most highly ranked, and it kind of gives you a good idea of what the community is imagining one of these gateway or focal point artworks might be like. Next slide. The plan also proposes a very ambitious idea, one I think that within the next few years Lewisville could tackle, and I'd like to spend a second talking about it. The idea is to commission a signature temporary artwork. An artist could be from the region, the state, or maybe even elsewhere in the country, who's really interested in exploring Lewisville's unique character and creating an artwork in reaction to what they see in Lewisville. The purpose of such an initiative would be to help achieve Lewisville's goals of creating an artwork that's fun and playful and has a wow factor, which is, when we did our survey, those were the things people thought public art should do, be fun and playful and just create a big wow for the city. Projects could speak to Lewisville's history as well as ambition. We all know how important the former Fighting Farmers Water Tower was to people as a symbol of the city. Looking forward, an artwork could play that same role. Projects like this are somewhat artist-driven, so you might ask an artist to come and spend a little time in Lewisville to explore the city, find out what interests them, and make a proposal, which could then be developed in collaboration with the program. Next slide. Oh, by the way, can we go back? This is by a University of North Texas professor who the program has been collaborating with quite a bit, Alicia Egger. This is on an island in Maine. But one day I was joking around with her about putting that on the landfill as a temporary artwork, and she got a real hoot out of that. She said, "Sign me up." You would get national press for that. Lewisville could begin the project by focusing on an area of the city or a theme that's important to the city. One of the things I find fascinating about Lewisville is its history of supporting the agricultural businesses in the region. And so and things like the silos, the concrete plant, all I think are really interesting visual features that artists would be excited by. So, one idea might be to commission like a drive-in movie projection on your concrete silos and that you have northeast of Old Town. We're looking at possibilities for the landfill. Someone said today to me, why don't we do a projection on the landfill? Which might be a little easier to do than a sculpture. But the idea is there are things here that are really intrinsically interesting. And artists would be fascinated by them, and they could do fun and impactful things that would be like Dallas's Aurora. People would start paying attention, and that's part of what helps make your city, on the radar for businesses and people who want to locate here. Next slide. The last part of the plan, and this is the last slide, talks about the nuts and bolts of getting there. What are the kinds of things the public art program can do with its processes and its administration to help take advantage of these opportunities and achieve these goals? First and most important is to build staff capacity. And in the short run, this could mean retaining consultants to help with project management. This is a very common practice. Several cities in your region follow it. Richardson does that now. Frisco did it for a long time when they started out. I myself worked in this way for public art programs back where I live on the East Coast. One option might be to have just a part-time consultant who can manage a couple projects a year, or if you have a particularly tricky project or one that just requires a lot of focus, have a consultant just work on that. The second major recommendation is to broaden the process by which the Art Advisory Board and the staff plan for projects in the future. One is some steps that could be taken, could be to consult with the other departments more regularly to assess opportunities and priorities. Again, that could lead to collaborations, opportunities that one or the other might not see, and potentially even down the road it might unlock resources that you're not aware of, particularly in regard to economic development projects. The second part of that is to prepare these plans for 3 years, not just 1 year, so that you can continually look ahead and anticipate your opportunities and needs, budget accordingly, and also get a better picture of the diversity of projects you're doing, and then seek guidance from a curator or a consultant to kind of really help challenge the ideas and make sure the projects you're putting on the plan are solid projects. Third recommendation is to use what we call a project plan, which is sort of like a memo that describes how each project is going to work. That just kind of slows the process down a little. It makes it more thoughtful. So if your goal is to do community engagement, you can talk a bit about that and think about how you're going to build that in so it doesn't become something that you're playing catch up on at the end of the process. Again, there's an emphasis on collaborating with other departments to secure commitments for projects and civic projects and major private development. Over time, it could be useful to look at how the funding from the HOT works. Right now, it's sort of a kind of what funds are left in that at the end of the year are given to the public art program, and there may be other ways to make that a more stable or predictable flow of money. And I've mentioned the signature temporary art project and the benchmark conservation assessment. So those are really important steps. There's more of them mentioned in the plan. It always gets a little boring when you talk about these things, but that's what really makes things work. I'd like to end by mentioning that today we went over to Central Park to see the Chin sculpture. I'm often asked why even bother doing public art, like what's the value of that to a city? And we went there around lunchtime, and just by happenstance, a woman came over and she had 2 kids. I'm assuming they were of the Chin community. The woman said she had been at the opening on Saturday and she wanted to come back today and bring her kids. And you have to walk a long way to get there, so you don't just like happen on that sculpture. They walked, we saw them walking over and they came over and the kids were climbing on the sculpture. And I said, would you like to take your picture? And they're just, oh yes, please take our pictures. They were so proud of that sculpture. And I think that, and I've heard about the dedication on Saturday. And I think in that little incident, I just saw that in those few minutes why you do this. You do this because, first of all, Lewisville is clearly a city government that cares about its citizens. And I know the Chin community has been welcomed here from day one and embraced. But that sculpture really made them feel good. It made them feel like they were part of the community. It made them feel valued. It made them feel seen. And that's what it takes to build a healthy community, is make people feel always, every day, that they're part of it and that they're valued. And that's one of the really important reasons for doing what you do. So, James, I'm not telling tales out of school. You said that's one of the best things you've ever done, working for the city of Lewisville. So you should be very proud of that project. And that's why you do it, because it makes your citizens feel like they're really proud to be here and happy to be here. So thank you very much for the opportunity to work here again, and our whole posse is here to answer questions.
I also wanted to add on, so when Todd was talking about expand HOT and other funding, So there was a slide he talked about earlier about, there's several projects that we have that are coming up in our future bond election that could have art components in it. So our art policy says we can dedicate up to 2% of the project. Obviously, for a project like Corporate Drive, that would be super expansive if you got 2%, and probably unreasonable. She's laughing, the engineer, on knowing the cost on the project. But there is the ability, when you sell bonds, you can work art into your infrastructure. Now, bond rules say you have to build it into the infrastructure. So with Thrive, we did that, and so you have a wall that's, part of the building that is a piece of art. So we went through just earlier today and looked at, what projects could add. We add some. And so first I wanted to see if council was interested in adding some. I will say that we can work it within that 1.5 cent. We would still be under that. So there would be no more financial risk than there isn't already now. And it would be part of the infrastructure. But I wanted to see what y'all's thoughts were first.
I love that.
I would love it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So with that, I will say that the numbers that I looked at projects, obviously we would bring them back to you, but projects that would make sense, like we talked about the animal shelter and some of the streets, some of the lake park with our safety improvements on that beach, could incorporate art into that infrastructure as well. So right now, Prop 1 we had as $198,500,000. We could add $400,000 to that. Prop 2 was $47,500,000. We could add $400,000 to that. That's for Parks and Rec. And Prop 3, which was $16,400,000, we could add $200,000 to that and be within the range of what we were looking at. And still, I think the numbers wouldn't change so drastically that you would have a massive swing. I just want to make sure that's in line with something you'd want to do. Okay. All right. We will plan accordingly.
Wonderful. Any other questions for Todd? Well, we've got his expertise here. It's always great to hear from you, Todd. We appreciate it. All good? All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you all for your
Thank you
time.
so much.
And thank you.
Happy holidays.
You too. Bye-bye.
Item C, metrics overview. Next up, we have Mr. Jason Kirkland, our Business Intelligence Officer, to present on our metrics for the city.
Sure. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for taking the time out. I know many of you guys are already familiar with our metrics, but we wanted to really have an opportunity to do a workshop. Really, a couple of reasons here. About 5 years ago, we kind of started on this trend as far as metrics. Out of the 2025 plan, there were really 3 internal facing, if you will, moves that we were trying to do. One of them is really being a data-driven organization, if you will. A lot of people will tell you that the data is your most valuable resource. And in that, we've been very strategic in putting forth resources towards this goal. So we have 4 full-time employees, business information analysts, that this is what they do, a primary function of what they do, headed up by Jason Kirkland. Jason is our business intelligence officer that's over this as well as all of our development. So with that, we could go through this and spend an hour, but I know we got about 15 minutes. I'm going to be quiet and let Jason give you the meat and potatoes.
Thank you very much. So our public-facing metrics website is a web app that anybody can go to. It's at metrics.cityoflewisville.com. It is made of live data that come directly from departmental databases. So we're pulling that data live and being able to show it to people live, and that enables our departments to not have to do anything other than just their daily work. We do all the heavy lifting behind the scenes. They don't have to fill out spreadsheets monthly or anything like that. We want to make this as seamless as possible. Our business intelligence analysts are the ones that do the work, like Lauren Hassett, who is here with us today. business intelligence analysts are responsible for writing the queries that pull that data from those departmental databases. Some of these queries can be 10 lines long, some can be 1,000 lines long, and require pulling data from multiple data sources in order for us to get it out onto this website. We do quarterly reviews with the departments, so we go through all of this information with the departments quarterly. They're aware of what information is out on the public website. We look at any data they want to add to it or any questions they have about what's out there. We take care of those things. So how does all of this work? A quick technical overview. The departmental data that we talked about either lives in on-premise applications, that means databases and things that are right here, in our data centers in the city, or as we're seeing more and more, the data lives in cloud systems. So, a hosted system like Google, or Gmail, things like that. But rock solid, and which is where our city, Lewisville, Texas app, goes. That data is all cloud hosted. So we have to, what's in our lingo is called extract, transform, and load that data. We have to get it out of those databases. We have to mix and match it so that it's lined up the way that we need, and then we have to load it up into our systems. So our BIAs do the SQL queries. We have IT developers as well. Their job is to write the code that goes out to these web apps and pulls it in. Each one of these applications is its own unique project to us to try to get the data down from and into our own systems for analyzing. And the biggest thing is, again, the departments do not have to do extra work. So a lot of places that have monthly reports and things like that are monthly reports that somebody is assigned to fill out. They have a spreadsheet and they have to go in and hand tabulate, all this stuff. We want to make our system not dependent on that type of thing. We want to make it live, and we want the departments to not have to do any additional work. This is an example of a fun SQL query that's used in one of the metrics.
Tyson, I might just add too that the benefit to our residents too in having live on data is that it's transparent. Nobody's behind the scenes massaging the data or changing it after the fact. If it looks weird on a chart on our metric, it's because it's weird in the database. And I think that's the ultimate in transparency as well.
You're absolutely correct. If you do it by hand in a spreadsheet, you have the ability to say, oh, well, not that one doesn't count. But we don't do any of that. So, like Gina said, everything that you're seeing out there is right from our systems. So, from the technical angle of what we're doing behind the scenes, we're writing those SQL queries. We're publishing them as web services. We actually use Google Sheets for all of the chart making and things like that, and then we push that to the dashboards. So some interesting things that are on metrics.citylouisville.com right now, things that I found interesting. 98% of our code violations are resolved without citations. I just thought that was pretty amazing. Over 25,000 people visit the library annually, 900 animals are adopted annually, 6 million square feet of commercial property is under construction right now. 97.5% is the average health inspection score. We've had a 4 percentage point drop in the vacant positions in the last 12 months as the economy has rebounded and we're able to hire people. The court has had 650 texts and chats on their website where people can go to the website and chat with their court clerk to try to answer things about their case without having to drive all the way up here. 650 of those on there. And there's 169, there may be more than that today when I wrote the slide, active development applications in the review process right now. So the metric site shows us all sorts of very interesting things. We're also tracking the departmental business plans. So, as council has heard, from the departments during the budget process and things, we all have our business plans, and part of that in the business plan is to have metrics that can be tracked out there. So all the departments use the Trello application to keep track of everything. It's just part of their day-to-day project management in Trello, and then we've written a side application that can go out there and look at the percentage of all of their tasks that they're trying to do per their business plan, and that way, we have a citywide view of where we are on business plan tasks. So, in summary, metric creation is ongoing. We as Lauren can attest, create new metrics all the time. We are constantly writing queries and systems to make new metrics. When we meet with the departments quarterly, that helps us to refine what we have out there. Sometimes we think that we have a great idea of, hey, this would be the coolest thing, people would want to see this. And after we look at it for a while, it's like, no, that line is just kind of straight, that's not all that interesting. And so we'll refine that with them, or we'll find something where it doesn't look right, and we'll dig in with the department deeper to figure out what's going on a business process side of things, and find that, oh, well, maybe the business process changed. We're querying their system as though the old business logic was in place, but something has changed, and so we need to go into those queries and change them up so that we're capturing data more accurately. We do the trend analysis, at the same time, everybody can look at those numbers to see whether or not there's any trends. But another piece of what we do behind the scenes that's separate from metrics.cityoflewisville.com is we write alerts and things for departments as needed. So departments may see an interesting number or a number that concerns them or that they want to be aware of so they don't have to be concerned about it. And they want us to write them real-time alerts. So we write applications that can send them real-time emails, and when numbers do whatever it is they've asked us to alert them on, they get an email that lets them know, hey, such and such happened in your system, and here's what the information is. Some of those we end up going deeper and deeper over time, where you start to get an alert that tells you this, but then you decide, oh, you know what, I really actually needed to also see this and this when it happens, and so we write all of those systems as well. And the business rules are what dictate all of that, all of those alerts. When you watch your databases live, when you want to know that suddenly your a violation count or something has reached a certain number or a certain percentage or some other threshold, we can do that and watch for those changes live behind the scenes and give them to you. So I can, if anybody wants, I can go through the actual website and show you things, or we can be done and come back.
Council?
I would love to see the website.
Yeah, okay, bring it up.
Okay, so metrics.cityoflewisville.com is the address. We have our landing page where we just try to show off some interesting things about the city. We've highlighted our parks and showing the 10-minute walk information on there, pulling data directly from the parks website to show how many parks we have in Lewisville. We break it down by age and ethnicity. Here, I'll try to make it show up just a little bit better. Again, we're from a technical angle, we're pulling all of this data from different sources in town. We have information on here about code violations. All of this is live information from the Public Works, Public Services, work order system showing streets and sidewalk repairs. Again, all of this is live information. Our code enforcement dashboard, which is actually a separate application, but we're embedding it here. This shows all the various code violations by the code enforcement zones that are out there right now, things that are open, things that have been closed. COs, where all the current COs are, development activity report, CIP report, so we're pulling stuff from across departments. So we have 17 areas, and we call them departments up here just because the public, for a lot of these things assumes that, some of these things are departments. Animal services is very interesting to get that information. In our process of helping to get some of this, we've also been able to help eliminate paper reports and things like that. So when we go to a department to help them with metrics, if we find that that there is information that they're still capturing on paper, we, in my division, can also write whole new applications for them so that they're collecting it electronically. And as the benefit of that, they don't have to deal with paper, and we get the access to the data to be able to display out here. So this is all live information coming from the animal services system. All sorts of interesting things related to the stays, outcomes. We have the medical information, which I find very interesting. Building services citywide, one of the big ones is code enforcement. Code enforcement, there is a lot of data there, and we've been able to spend a lot of time putting things together about code enforcement. And as we dig into each of these departments, we find that it's a rabbit hole. We could keep going and going. I mean, each one department could have, 10 and 15 pages of information put together on there. And so, we just keep adding to these as we talk to the departments quarterly. But the code enforcement stuff is just, again, very interesting. All the stuff about single-family rentals, multifamily inspection program.
Now, what we are doing here, I would suggest that you'd be hard-pressed to find another municipality doing it this way. Meaning, one of the main criteria when we were looking at setting this up was to do this in a real-time fashion. And there's nothing like off the shelf you can just go buy to do it. So you really have to have the talent in-house, if you will, to create something of this nature. So it really speaks, I think, to the personnel and their abilities, Jason and his team, really to be able to produce something at this level.
We get questions from other cities every couple of months wanting to know what application did we use. And we tell them, well, unfortunately, there isn't an easy button. We have a lot of talented people that do a lot of hard work. And so we usually get told, well, that's really cool, and they wish they could do that too, but we don't hear back from them because getting live data from your systems, from the huge number of systems we have, out to a externally facing website is a technical challenge. Public services, again, a big department, and so we break theirs down into all sorts of different areas on here. I encourage people to go and take a look at these various department and divisional pages that we have out here, because the number of topics is immense. Obviously, it's an entire city that we're trying to represent in this metric system, and so you can get into a numerous number of topics. That's really all I had, was to tell you about the system, let you see some of the samples of data, and I'm here to answer any questions if there are.
Police and fire representatives somewhere?
No, they are not. That is an excellent
Privacy
excellent point.
concern, just haven't got to it yet, or?
Because of our switching to the new CAD and RMS system, so we purposely held off on police and fire metrics and actually stood down the ones that we had previously because of going to the new system. So we didn't want to invest a lot of time into the system that's about to go away.
I love everything about this. I'm a big data junkie. I mean, you know this, right? When I first got on, I asked for a bunch of data from you, right? So love the data. I'm a big transparency and government kind of guy, and these hit both of those things. If you're not measuring it, you can't manage it. And this is just amazing stuff. So this looks fantastic.
Thank you.
Gets me very excited. This is, to me, what infrastructure is to Councilwoman Green. This gets me excited. So,
I get excited about this too. I just don't understand all the meat behind it, but this is very.
I did want to also add, because I think there's great kudos that go to the team and building the team, but I think it says something about the city and council where you guys put prioritizations on things. So the funding that we get to have the staff people to attract the talent, to invest in this, other cities aren't doing this ourselves.
When other cities say they can't do it, it's not that they can't do it, it's that they have not made it a priority.
Right. They're just not doing it.
And what I love about how this system has evolved over the years is because I remember seeing the very first kernels, it was awesome. But it was about working with the departments, because this is an inward-facing document as much as it is an outward-facing document. So the things that are on here are what staff believes are the important key performance indicators that help them do their jobs well. And so that, to me, is just, it's an amazing thing to be able to have a tool that both the public and the internal entity can look at to drive performance and see if we're getting our dollars worth.
Yes, sir.
So you guys are doing an amazing job. It's really well done, and every time we go through this process, I love the iterative steps and how it's changing and evolving with the technology.
Thank you.
Awesome. I think that's all we have.
Great job.
All right, with that, now, there's nothing further to be held in the workshop. We will stand adjourned and we'll start up the regular session at 7 PM. It is 6:49.
You could have unlimited Facebook posts of this. Like just one.
There we go. It's 7 o'clock, and we're going to call this meeting of the Lewisville City Council regular session to order. First up, we have an invocation, which is given by myself, so if you would please rise. And let's take a few moments for some silent reflection, especially this holiday season. Not everyone has all the benefits that the rest of us have. Some parts of the world are having a lot more conflict than others, and so if you would, please keep all of those in your thoughts as we take a few moments. Amen. Councilmember Cade?
Join me in the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. All right. Item C, we have the presentation of the 2024 Colorpalooza logo and 2024 Colorpalooza logo student contest winner. Denise Helbing will be presenting the logo and making the announcement.
Good evening, Ms. City's Manager, Mayor, Council. Thank you for having us here tonight. I am here to present the 2024 Colorpalooza logo. This year is our 8th year for the contest, and the contest is open to any Lewisville resident of high school age who goes to any school, any LISD school, private school, homeschool. And we had 10 entries this year. As you know, this logo will be used on all marketing materials, merchandise created for this year's festival, and all digital media as well. And this year's festival will take place on Saturday, April 27th. I am pleased to introduce you to the winner, Miss Peyton Phillips, and show you her logo, which is right here, and it'll be on the screen in just a moment. And James has a printout of it here. Peyton is a sophomore at Marcus High School, but she is a Lewisville resident. She heard about the contest from her photography teacher. And Peyton has been doing art for a couple of years, and photography is actually her favorite medium. She came up with the logo by thinking about what visual art looks like to her, and she thought of a paintbrush. At this time, she does not plan on pursuing art, but she plans on pursuing a business degree in college. So,
Awesome.
thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. It's beautiful. That's a great addition to the collection. So look forward to seeing them all over the city.
Thank you.
All right, item D, Visitors Citizen Forum. Speakers must address their comments to the mayor rather than to individual council members or staff. Speakers should speak clearly and state their name and address prior to beginning their remarks. Speakers will be allowed 5 minutes for testimony. Speakers making personal, impertinent, profane, or slanderous remarks may be removed from the meeting. Unauthorized remarks from the audience, stamping of feet, whistles, yells, clapping, and similar demonstrations will not be permitted. In accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, the City Council is restricted from discussing or taking action on items not listed on the agenda. Action can only be taken at a future meeting. City Secretary, do we have any public comment?
No public comments and no e-comments either, Mayor.
And no e-comments either? Okay, well, Merry Christmas to everyone for that. Thank you. Item E, consent agenda. All of the following items on the consent agenda are considered to be self-explanatory by the council and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests. For a citizen to request removal of an item, a speaker card or e-comment must be filled out and submitted to the city secretary. City Secretary, do we have any comments on consent? All right, council, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Council, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Item 10, regular hearing, consideration of 2 alternative standards associated with building materials and landscaping for a commercial remodel located at 2325 South Stemmons Freeway. That's Interstate Highway 35 East, legally described as Lot 2, Block A, Vista Ridge Village Edition, Phase 1, Zoned Light Industrial District, as requested by Colton Wright, Vista Property Company, the applicant on behalf of Vista Ridge Village SCLP, the property owner. Case 231118 ALT STD. The applicant is proposing to divide the lease space previously occupied by Barnes & Noble into 2 spaces while maintaining continuity with the current architecture and landscaping. The following 2 alternative standards are required as the property is located within the IH-35E Corridor Overlay District. A, to allow 50% brick in lieu of the required 80% requirement, which is an increase from the current 37% brick. And B, to allow the existing 2 parking lot trees and landscape beds at the front of the building in lieu of the 20 required parking lot landscaping trees. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended unanimous approval 6-0 on December 5th, 2023, and it is recommended that the City Council approve the 2 alternative standards set forth in the caption above. We do have Mr. Richard Lutke, our Planning Director, available for questions. And if there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the 2 alternative standards as set forth in the caption.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Council, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Item G, reports. Reports about items of community interest regarding which no action will be taken. I did have a quick update on the Mayor's Red Kettle Challenge update. We, in the workshop, hit our $2,000 goal, but you are more than welcome to continue to donate if you feel so inclined. You can go to salvationarmytexas.org and look for TJ Gilmore if you would like to contribute to the Mayor's Kettle. But don't have to contribute to the Mayor's Kettle, just contribute. Everybody needs a little help this time of year, and this is a great way to do it. With that, we'll go ahead and move into our regular reports, and if I could start with Councilmember Meredith, are you okay with that?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Got 2 reports tonight. First of all, library reports, which is very small. Vision board making for families with children of all ages, Wednesday, December 20th, 2:30 to 3:30. No registration or ticket required at the Bennett Program Room. And then Lewisville Grand Theater activities. Unique Dance Icon Competition presented by Vistrom Entertainment, January 7th. Traveling Red River Songwriter Series presented by the City of Lewisville, January 18th. I've seen that a couple times. Jimmy Dale Gilmore and the West Texas Exiles presented by City of Lewisville, January 20th. Acoustic Jam Sessions, Fridays. Other activities, exhibitions, A Gift of Art presented by the City of Lewisville, December 2nd through the 22nd. Older Than Dirt and the Gap Between, presented by the City of Lewisville, December 2nd through the 22nd. And Deconstruction, presented by the Visual Art League of Lewisville, January 6th through February 3rd. And that's all I've got.
Thank you, sir. City Attorney? City Secretary?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to thank you, Mayor, and the council, and also the fellow directors that came out to raise money at the Salvation Red Kettle event on the 9th. So
It was a lot
appreciate
of
that.
fun.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
No report, Mayor.
No report.
No report.
Nada? Nada? How's the lake?
The lake's great. 87.2% full, 519.23 feet.
All right, thank you.
No report, Mayor.
No reports? No reports? No reports?
No report, but I want to thank again the fire department for Fire Truck Santa. That's always a blast, and that was so much fun again this year. So thank you so much for doing that, taking time out of your busy schedule. I know that goes over very well in the city. We've been looking at this for, I think 20 years, I guess. We moved in 20 years ago, and I saw that truck come through the first time with Santa on it. And I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. So thank you so much for doing that.
Councilmember Green?
Patrick just stole my thunder.
And mine.
So what he just said, other than that, no report.
I will be brief as my tooth has been pulled, but I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Happy holidays to everyone who's out there. Spend time with your family. Although we're in a trying time, we're in a great time to be alive and to just recognize and be thankful for what we have. And happy holidays to everybody. That's it.
Thank you, Councilman Jones.
Well, my main subject was stolen too by Patrick, but we'll deal with that later.
kudos to everybody. Everyone have a safe holiday, and we'll see everybody back in January.
City Manager?
I also wanted to just say happy holidays, and I'm so grateful to work with every one of you out there. We did an our year in review, and you guys are going to be excited when you see our annual report come out, because we accomplished a lot. You probably forgot how much we have accomplished, but it is a ton this year. So congratulations to these warriors that are sitting in front of us right now.
And they are mighty.
They are, they are. Just a few small things. Wonderful event with the Lung Tong sculpture that we had out at Central Park this past weekend. If you haven't had a chance to get out there, go. It's beautiful. It's a wonderful way to appreciate our Chin community, and I hope to see many more of those types of projects within the city in years to come. I want to also thank a couple of the council. We are heading down to check out the model campus for Texas State Technical College on this Wednesday, looking to see if we can't get one of those brought to Texas. So if you are a business owner or an individual that works in a career that requires technical certifications, would love to hear from you on how this might be able to help you and help the community. We're going to need to be raising funds and finding opportunities to put that here in Lewisville. So it's a big goal of ours. We're going to go find out how to get it done. Of course, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Festivus for the rest of us, whatever it is you celebrate at this time of the year. It's a wonderful time of year to be out there. And I just want to thank, for myself, of course, our city staff, who is amazing, an amazing group of professionals that we've been able to gather here at this city. Those of us here on council could not do what we do effectively if we didn't have good professionals to give us all the data that we needed to make these decisions. And I also want to make it a point that these are my council. When we talk about council members, I think people forget the meaning of the word. And the word council is key. They counsel me. They make sure that I'm on the right path. They help give me direction. And I use all of that information to be the mayor. And all of the communication and what it takes for that. But without this team of people here on the dais, I couldn't do what I do. And you all, I'm so proud to be serving with you, and it's just been an exceptional time. I'm terribly, terribly grateful for this past year, for all the professionals in my council. So thank you. And with that, we're gonna go ahead and move into closed session. In accordance with Texas Government Code Subchapter D, Section 551.072, Real Estate Property Acquisitions, Section 551.087, Economic Development, Deliberation regarding Economic Development Negotiations, Section 551.071, Consultation with Attorney, Legal Issues related to short-term rental properties. We are in closed session. A little bit of stuff. What, the council? Grab that.
I was liking this extra space.
Hey, it is up to me to invade your privacy.
All right, we're gonna come back into regular session. It is 7:40. As there is no additional action to be taken on tonight's agenda, we stand adjourned. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
The worst part was that it happened right before school pictures.